Do you think I'm like jaded? I just got to, am I jaded toward, like, it sounds like
jaded?
Yeah, like towards the government, like I don't trust anything they say. Because somebody just made a comment here on the old phone over here about I mean, you seem like you don't trust the government at all. Well, I mean, should I? My girlfriend, was running around 3 or 4 different dudes 20 different times. I probably wouldn't trust her either. I'm just saying, government. Hey, I got a question for any of you out there. Name a time in your life where the government came in and they said, "Hey, we're the government and we're here to help," and it was a good thing. I'll wait. It doesn't happen. And our world is being ripped apart by sin. Our world is being just torn in half by calamity, by disaster, by sin, by humans that seek to do their will as opposed to conform to his. And by his, I mean, from our perspective, from our point of view, would be God Almighty. You have to do the same thing. You cannot just walk through life and listen to what people say, take it as a fact, and move forward, because it's just not true. And I hate to squash the idealism in the room, but idealism's cute until you're 18, and then it's like the real world hits. Oh
yeah.
Idealism doesn't matter in the real world. There's a pragmatism that has to take over, right? Because as much as I want to believe people are inherently good, they're not. As much as I want to believe that people inherently have my best interest, they don't. I mean, and that's shown. And what the people are doing right now, what you're being ripped apart by people who want to sensationalize everything.
The dude's the president of the United States. Agree, disagree, whatever. Right. You don't just badger. It's not like you're talking to your best friend or something, and that just kind of, it's a trickle down effect. It's starting to happen everywhere.
There's a respect that ought to be tendered to the man in that office.
Correct.
When Obama was elected, I didn't vote for the man. I don't agree with a lot that he did in a lot of ways. I would disagree with what he, but I was in the military under an Obama presidency. At no point in time was he not my president. For those of you that are watching right now that didn't grow up during Watergate, what Nixon had some people do wasn't a fly in the ointment compared to what Hillary Clinton did, compared to what you fill in the blank. There's 100 things you could put in there. Watergate today would be like, well, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, of course we did. That's exactly what we did. Yeah, we broke into the hotel over there and we did some things. That's exactly what we did. You know why? Because we wanted to win. The media, in my opinion, is very much the arm being used to rip us apart as a country, as Americans. They want to take Ahmaud Arbery, which I am willing to bet those of you watching, 95% of the people that you know would all say that was a terrible thing. It was a terrible thing. And if I had it my way, it would never happen again. But was it racist? I don't know. If it was, it may have been an outlier because the last 10 that you've been told were racist may or may not have been. The truth is not given a moment to breathe. Truth doesn't matter. What matters is agenda. And the scariest thing for those with an agenda is for those people like us to come together and be decidedly willing to make a difference. But at the end of the day, here are my principles. I believe life is sacred. I believe race doesn't matter. I believe, and you fill in the blank. That absolutely terrifies the ruling class, which is what they are. They're the ruling class. The system is broken. We can't fix it. So we have to operate within the system that we have and find a way to make change. And the only way to do that is by unifying ourselves. But people, this is our country. Like, this is what we're going to leave to our sons and our daughters and our grandchildren after that. And the legacy that we're leaving right now is one of indignation. It's one of since I don't know. We're sensationalizing everything. And it's disturbing, and quite frankly, it's embarrassing.
The ones that are protesting in front of the hospital.
No, I didn't know that. I would tell them not to do that. Like my stance on that would be like, don't be an idiot.
Well, it was just bad because they were blocking hospital workers from getting in, and they had like Trump flags. It's just
the last place I'm going to go is and here's okay,
yeah.
And that's a great point. They had Trump flags. You hear that? That was the first thing that came out. And so what I'm going to tell you is that all over the media, the stupid people that are outside hospitals doing stupid things, they must be some Trumpers. Trump for life, build that wall, by God. Make America great again like it was back in the day. Was slavery part of that? I'm not sure. And so all of this getting lumped into one big thing, like. But
they create that narrative for themselves.
No, they don't. That's not accurate. Okay. That's like saying every Bernie supporter creates the narrative of being stupid for themselves.
The government, was freezing a lot of immigration. When they were freezing. In fact, I
brought that up.
Yeah, okay. They were freezing green cards.
Yep.
Freezing asylum.
Yep.
I also heard the sentiment that they don't want, once the economy opens back up, they don't want all the immigrants to take their jobs.
Find that for me in a fact. Find a fact supporting that sentiment. One of those was a fact. I've got the article right here. Trump will suspend immigration. No details, no end date in sight, but we're not going to bring any more in. No visas, no whatever. Okay. There is nowhere, anywhere, and if you can find this, I'll give you a raise. I'll double your freaking salary because it's impossible. I know you're not going to find it. There's not going to be anything factual out here that says Trump stopped immigration today because he didn't want those dang immigrants to get the jobs of the white folks or the Americans or the whatevers. And so
because of COVID then?
Yeah. Okay. Oh God, I'm so happy you went there. New Hampshire, you name it, all the states that border New York, okay, they didn't want people from New York coming into their state. And so they stopped it. There's something that could kill people. There's something that could hurt people. There's something that could change the landscape of our state forever. No, and so we just want to vet this disease started. The origin was, as far as we know, China.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, at one point the narrative was saying it originated in China was inherently racist, which is unbelievable and false. Why would we shut down immigration? Because the virus came from, if we didn't have people coming into our country from other countries, we would have never gotten COVID-19, period. Since this is how this thing kind of got kickstarted, let's probably just hold off on this until we get a handle on protecting our own people. And my opinion, now that we've finally gotten there, is that's the ideology from which the administration is. Look, Trump. I've got my own issues with Trump, okay? And you know as better than anybody that's out there listening, I'm not some Trump for lifer. I'm not some, but I'm definitely not a never Trumper either. And so at the end of the day, like, I think he's doing the right thing by just saying, you know what? I'll put it this way. If you agree with the states that border New York saying you can't come in my state, then you also cannot disagree with the president's stance on immigration right now, because they are exactly the same thing.
NBC, Chuck Todd leaving out a key context in a shortened clip of Attorney General William Barr that they played.
And I'm going to read the transcript from that show. I've heard it, and I looked for a clip of it to bring to the show to play for everyone. I couldn't find that in a non-copyrighted package, and so I'm going to read it for you, and I want you to take your own conclusions from this, but mine are, I will happily give you mine when it's said and done. Chuck Todd says, you brought up Bill Barr. Peggy Noonan, I want you to listen to this Bill Barr answer to a question about what will history say about this. Wait until you hear this answer. Take a listen. And they play the tape. And then Attorney General Barr says, when history looks back on this decision, the question asked by Chuck Todd, when history looks back on this decision, how do you think it will be written? Attorney General Bill Barr says, well, history's written by the winners, so it largely depends on who's writing the history. End quote. There's a huge problem with that. First of all, it's not what he said. It's part of what he said. But they went on to lambast this dude, just wear him out about how pompous could you be? History's written by the winner. History. Well, first of all, it is, for the record. History is absolutely written by the winner. You want to write history? Freaking win. Okay? Period. If you lose, you don't get a say in history. Unfortunately, you'll be written as the people that lost. Okay? And that's not political. That's not left, right, up, down, blue, green, yellow, white. It's just a fact. History is always and has always, for all of recorded history been written by the winner because the loser's typically not there to tell their side. So, just to be clear on that. Second of all, I'm going to read you the entire quote in its entirety.
Okay.
To put context to it, because as Connor told me today, nothing works without context. And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like some of the things I've said not in context. It makes them feel better. Anyways, in closing, this was a big decision in the Flynn case, to say the least. This is Attorney General Bill Barr. No, I'm sorry. This is Chuck Todd again. When history looks back on this decision, how do you think it will be written? What will it say about your decision making? This was his answer in its entirety. Well, history is written by the winner, so it largely depends on who's writing the history. But I think a fair history would say that it was a good decision because it upheld the rule of law. It upheld the standards of the Department of Justice, and it undid what was an injustice. And what they're talking about here is the Michael Flynn case. So this whole Michael Flynn thing, like he got caught up in a lie, and he ended up in jail, bankrupt, lost his house, all that. Well, it comes out this last week the Department of Justice is actually going to drop the case against him. They're going to drop the case. You know why? Because the FBI fabricated things. I mean, and I'm not going to dive into what happened, but it's a long list of injustices against Michael Flynn in an attempt to gain political capital in the time of transition between Obama and Trump. Okay, and so just painting that picture. So the question here was phrased within the context of that. It was within the context of this decision, the DOJ dropping the charges against Michael Flynn. That was the decision. When history looks back on it, how do you think it'll be written? So with context, what they did was not only irresponsible. It was despicable, quite frankly. Yeah. And journalism as a whole, we talk about this every time you're on. It's dead. Journalism doesn't exist anymore.